From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Welcome to Open Line tonight. I'm Carrie Sharp. So glad you're with us tonight. We have a wonderful topic to share with you tonight. Lighthouse Christian Camp. Have you heard of it? If not, we're going to tell you all about it tonight and some ways that you can help them out. If you have heard of it, if you've experienced it, your children have been there, give us a call tonight. We would love to talk about your experience, love to hear about it. I want to introduce you to our two guests tonight. We have Brother Ben Chapman, founder and president of Lighthouse Christian Camp. Thank you for being here. And also Sarah Smith, the camp coordinator. Thank you so much for being here as well. Absolutely. Lighthouse is about 60 miles east of Nashville, is where miracles happen. On every day. But Ben, I want you to take us back. Let's rewind about 30 years. Okay. You didn't start your career in camping.
No, ma'am.
Where did you get your start? How did this all start 30 years ago? You were doing what in life?
I was pastoring First Baptist Church in Salina and also the manager of Dale Hollow Lake with the Corps of Engineers at the time.
And then something happened. You had about 400 acres of property.
Yes, ma'am.
And where did it all start?
Well, we had a hill farm on Center Hill Lake just out of Smithfield, Tennessee, and God began to really work in my heart about starting a camp, and so I began to think a lot about that and thought at first that I maybe could get a camp started and stay in Salina and still pastor the church there in Salina, but God had a different plan.
As he often does. Haven't you found that?
Yes,
you think one thing and God thinks another.
Yes, ma'am, sure does.
So this camp started pretty meager, pretty low budget, and it was camping.
Oh, yes,
we're not talking going to the Holiday Inn, are we?
Sure, no, ma'am.
Tell me about the camp in the early days.
Well, we had our home there. That we had lived there for several years because I was also, for a time, manager at Center Hill until I moved to Dale Hollow. Later there, they asked me to pastor a small church there in Salina. And so then we had this farm there, cattle and everything on it. And when God began to work in my heart about starting a camp, we had the 400 acres about on Center Hill Lake there in Smithfield. Had cattle there, had horses there.
Oh, wow, look
so
at that.
It was just a home, and that was there. So to begin the camp, we had a horse barn right behind the home. We had a little horse barn down on the road, and we converted those to cabins, and thinking that God would send a lot of money in, and it didn't happen that way. He builds the ministry first, and then he tests us always first.
Yes.
And so I cut timber off the place and built 2 outhouses, one for girls, one for boys, first class. And we actually, my wife had a washer and dryer there in home. We took the washer and dryer out, put 2 residential stoves in. And so when we began camp, the kids had to eat under the trees out back of the house. And my wife lost her washer and dryer and was cooking the food, brought it out back of the house. And the cabins we had there, we built 2 little log cabins over on the hill, and that's how the camp began. Matter of fact, they didn't even have it in place to wash their hands, before they ate.
Right.
And so I actually took a piece of flashing, bent it, had a hose bib. They washed their hands under that. They had to take a shower with their bathing suits on.
This really was a rustic camping experience.
Yes, ma'am.
You said God called you to do this, but what was your purpose in it? What was that calling? Why did you do it? When you said, we're going to do this camp, and I want the children to experience what?
Coming to know Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord. To get away from the TV and all the distractions that they face every day, and get out in the outdoors like that, and then the power of the gospel of Jesus Christ changes lives. But in those initial days, well, the first year actually, all I knew to do at that point was to bring church kids. And it was the next year, as we were really struggling to keep things going, and during that summer camp, we had church kids there. That was in '83. Then God spoke again. And he says, what are you going to do about those children that could never come to camp unless we brought them free? And so we came to Nashville here, and we just walked the streets and offered a child to come. And we had that first, what we call a missions camp for children that wouldn't be able to afford to come. And God did a great work that week. And we saw so many of those kids that were so angry and so disruptive. We had fights. We had a lot of fights.
So it was a lively camp, is what you're saying.
And so when the kids at the end of the week and through the week, peace began to come into camp as each one responded to the gospel. And when they got on the bus to come back to Nashville, they were just weeping and begging us to not send them back. But we had to, of course. And when the bus pulled out of the driveway that year, then God spoke again. He says, you know why you're here now. And so in '84, all accounts from that point on had been for children that could not pay. So we bring kids from 14 different counties, Nashville and 14 different counties now. We have about 120 children each week. We've doubled the number. Back in those days, it was about 50 or 60. And now we have about 120. And beautiful dining hall and a facility that took 34 years though, because the camp began 34 years previous to today.
So 34 years, 120 children a week. How many weeks do you go throughout the summer?
Well, in the early days we had 10 weeks of camp. Now with the school systems narrowing their summers down to where they have the 2-week breaks, fall, winter, and spring, now we are doing 7 weeks. We do the girls' weeks in June, and we focus on 9-10-year-olds as the first-timers, but we do discipleship weeks camp too, and we have weekend retreats. We just had boys out this past weekend.
Fine. Now we see this beautiful picture here. Tell me what this is a picture of.
That's the dining hall. Yes, ma'am.
That is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
We have built everything there ourselves, take every dollar God sends in, and try to make it go as far as we can. So we are very efficient with and it's all by donation. It's all by faith. We accept no federal or state funding. We are a 501c3 nonprofit corporation ruled by a board of directors, so anybody that makes a gift to the camp, it is tax exempt.
So tell me what else is on the property. We're going to see pictures throughout the next hour. We saw the dining hall. Explain the property now. It's not just the 2 barns and the 2 outhouses anymore.
No, ma'am. Even there where we started, we've built many additional facilities at what we call Camp 1. And anyone that's been to camp, and I'm sure there are a lot of our viewers that's been to camp before, will understand. Some of them, because now we have grandparents calling us. I came to that camp when I was a child.
Oh, you're kidding.
Can I send my grandchild?
Wow.
Let alone the parents sometimes that are calling. And so, yeah, well, over a period of years, we added facilities there. We did add showers.
That was nice of you.
Inside showers and flush commodes. We tore the outhouses down. There's no longer outhouses there. And about 5 years ago, we actually air conditioned the cabins.
Wow.
And because we depend a lot on volunteers to come as counselors. And that is a great need at camp, is volunteers to come that would be there with us during summer camps especially, and weekend retreats and everything. So as the years has gone by, we've just continued to build, and God would speak and say, trust me for this. We built a large gym there where we can have these children come in on weekends, has sleeping quarters in it, a kitchen in it, large gym, so if it's snowing, raining, sleet, cold, we can do everything right in one building.
One thing as I was reading about Lighthouse that I really liked, because I went to summer camp, a Christian summer camp as a kid, a couple of times, and you leave with that spirit in you. You are ready to change the world, and you feel great, and you are high on life and high on God. And then you get back into the real world. Yeah. You all make sure that you keep those kids coming back and just fill that spirit up over and over again.
Yes,
Tell me how that happens.
Well, that's why God built the gym there, because sadly a lot of these children in a lot of different areas, most of them are not been to church, and we try to get them plugged in to a church, and we never have anything at camp that would interfere with a local church service or anything like that. a lot of those kids, though, they expect to go to a church and expect church to be like camp, where everybody's hugging them, everybody's loving them, everybody, you know.
Right.
And if they go to church and they find, well, you know, not saying anything negative about church,
but sometimes
still,
it's different than that.
It's
not
different.
camp.
It's
no.
different, and they so it's hard to keep these kids in church.
Yeah.
And so after a period of time, God spoke and says, we need to bring them back. And so we do. And the thing of it is, a number of our staff now that are there for the summer are former campers. And I can think of one gentleman, African American, that came as a camper, kept coming all the way through high school, transitioned to be a counselor. Then when he went to college, kept coming back, and he's still coming.
That speaks volumes.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Now, obviously, Ben, you have a heart for this. You are very passionate about it. Sarah, this is your job. Tell me about your perspective of the camp.
Well, it's a unique opportunity. You know, I came from the school system, so I was dealing with kids even there. But to come here and have that opportunity just to share life with these kids, there's nothing greater. It's just I can just sit there and think of the heavens, just rejoicing of just watching what God can do through willing vessels. And I just, you know, my deepest prayer of being there is that God would use me in just such a huge way to reach these lives, that these children would then reach the lives of others around them. That's my heart for these kids, and it's just the most incredible opportunity that I've ever had.
That's amazing. That's cool to hear. That's a great job description right there. I tell you what, you sold me. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, so much more about Lighthouse Christian Camp. So stay with us. We got lots to tell you about, lots of pictures to share with you. Don't go anywhere.